Hello, hello, and welcome to Q-Chan Ed with your host. Yes, me, Q-Chan, and as I always say, you can definitely call me Mr. Q as well. So before we go on in today's topic and actually share something quite embarrassing. So for the people who actually see the videos, watch the videos, you can see that I bought this mic. And I had this mic on the last two videos, but I didn't really know if it was working, so I had no idea to know. I didn't know if it was connected or not, so what I do first is I go online to see, okay, I type in like the brand name of the microphone. It's like, how do you know if it's actually connected? So I go to the settings and I see that it was not connected. So that is a little bit embarrassing. I really thought that it was connected, but for my surprise, I guess like the built-in microphone on the MacBook Air is pretty good. So I own the 2020 MacBook Air. So hey, not bad, I guess. But this time, I guess you will definitely be able to see a difference in the audio. So, hey, you learn every day. So, welcome to today's podcast. I always, like, as I mentioned, like if you see my eyes bouncing back and forth, it's because I have to look at the reading and the structure that I did for the podcast, as well as looking at the research that I did for it. So, we will discuss the latest research and trends in education and bilingualism. So, welcome. Uh, and today we're going to explore the benefits of early bilingual education and why it is essential for children to succeed in life, but also to not confuse what a lot of parents confuse, that if they think that if they put in their children in from 3 years old, 4 years old, they're going to be able to speak like a native speaker by the age of 6 or 7. So we'll try and also touch base a little bit on that, but let's go again, segment by segment. So the first one is the importance of early bilingual education. So this has been for so many years, but studies have shown that children who start learning a second language at a young age have numerous benefits. We also talk about these benefits in another episode. I don't remember which one, but I think it was just called the benefits of being bilingual. There's no need to mention them again. But again, it's important to know that by exposing children to a second language, third, fourth, at an early age, they will be able to develop a greater understanding of the world and become more culturally aware as well. So there's also some research, recent research, that says that if you expose your child to as many sounds as possible by the age of 1, they're going to be able to discriminate these sounds later in life. And one of my benefits, for example, at least just for myself, is my sister started playing the violin when she was 3 or 4 years old. And when I was born, she was already 7, so she was pretty good at violin. So when we were in America, I would go to a kindergarten in America, so I was exposed to English language. I would go back home and I was exposed to Spanish language, and then I would go and listen to my sister playing the violin. So I was exposed to like so many different kinds of sounds. I don't think my parents did that on purpose. I hardly doubt that they did this on purpose. But yeah, recent research says that if you expose children to as many sounds as possible, and according to them, it's by the age of 1. I hardly doubt that, and I think like if anyone can overcome the barriers that we were talking about, for example, on our last episode on pronunciation, accent, and pitch, I think people can definitely overcome these. You have all of these Hollywood actors, right? That they might be from Texas, but they have to do a British accent, or you have British actors who have to do a Texan or Southern accent. So if you put in the time in, again, if you are willing to do the grind and practice every day, you'll definitely be able to do so. Just to have a quick quotation over here, they are very important as well. So like research has shown as well that bilingual children have superior problem solving skills, greater creativity, and higher levels of executive function compared to their monolingual children. We also are going to cover some of the myths and some of the also side effects of early bilingual education, because definitely monolinguals do also have benefits. different kind of benefits, of course, but there are benefits on both sides of being raised in a monolingual setting and being raised in a bilingual, trilingual, monolingual. I'm sorry, multicultural setting. So it's not all bad just for the monolinguals out there. Okay, so please don't worry as well. Like if you're a monolingual, it doesn't mean that you're worse than us, the multilingual people. Okay, so going and moving on to the segment 3. So the benefits of bilingualism in Japan. We have also spoken a little bit about this, but in Japan, and especially nowadays, and with age group being older and older and older, young people definitely have to put a lot of focus on their English ability, because whether they want it or not, whether Japan wants it or not, they will definitely become global, way more global than they are. They're pretty close still, but at one point, whether they want it or not, it will happen. It will happen. So I think it was a couple of years ago. I don't remember the exact amount, but about 4 or 5. I remember reading an article about Honda. Honda, the company, decided to put all of their book manuals and all of their policies written in English. And even though most of their workers don't understand the language English, they decided to push for this in order for all the workers to put a little bit more effort into studying English. Like a big company like Honda has worldwide, I don't know the actual amount of companies that they have, but they're all over the world. And definitely people from Japan want to go there and expect that they're following the rules, they're following the routines and procedures necessary, and that everyone is doing here in Japan. So definitely English has become a crucial language for success in the global marketplace. And of course, it goes without saying, so by starting bilingual education early, children can gain a competitive advantage and develop the language skills necessary to succeed in the future. So in my past, I'd say 9 years of teaching here in Japan, I have had I would say, the wonderful and beautiful opportunity to see some of my students so early, super young. I remember this girl, age 5 and 6, she was taking already Eiken Nikyu. If you don't know what the Eiken is, it's basically the English test that Japanese take over here. Apparently by high school you should be able to take the Jun EQ, which is like the pre-2. I don't know what it stands for, if it's equal to IELTS or TOEFL or stuff like that. I don't really know the equivalent of Jun EQ or NICU, but one of my students, she was 6 years old and she passed 2, not even the pre-2, but the 2. And in all my years, I also have like private students that are very young, and some of them have taken already June EQ, which is like after the 2, and they're super young. So their mothers would send me a picture of the actual test, and it's very funny to see like a 6-year-old, 7-year-old sitting down next to high schoolers and adults. So I don't want to say that it's bad for the adults and the high schoolers over there, and that they should be embarrassed because there's a child over here. Of course, I don't want to say that, but at the same time, this should be kind of like motivating for them in order to put on the effort and putting in the time in order to master a language. So to go on again into another quote, in today's interconnected world, being bilingual is definitely not a luxury anymore. It is a necessity. And just a brief personal story. When I was in Mexico, and people would ask me, like, do you speak any other languages? I would say, yeah, like I speak 4. I speak Spanish, English, Japanese, and French. French being my weakest language, but I can still handle a pretty simple conversation. Yeah, a pretty simple conversation. It would be definitely possible for me. And in Japanese at the time, it wasn't as fluent as it is right now, but definitely better than my French. And most people would be like, wow, I don't know, I would love to know how your brain works. And I felt very special, to be honest. Like, it felt really good to have that kind of people noticing you. And I didn't really put that much effort into French, but in for Japanese, like there was a time and day that I still remember that I would put in like about 4 to 5 hours a day, and I would study and just like again putting on the grind, like kanji, 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 reading the grammar books, doing the vocab, studying for like the kanji test. I remember like studying for the kankens. They're like I think 10. And as I mentioned on my previous episode, like I had like the Nintendo DS, and on the Nintendo DS you have your little pen, and it tells you like the stroke order and stuff like that. It tells like the radicals and stuff like that. I used to know all of that. I forgot, of course. Now I don't remember, but I still remember putting like all the time for that. But then I moved to New York, and I felt like, yeah, I'm great. I can speak a lot of languages. And when I opened my bank account at I think it was Chase, the banker asked me, "Oh, where are you from?" And I said, like, "Yeah, I'm from Texas, but my family's from Mexico," and stuff like that. "Oh, so then you speak Spanish?" And I was like, "Yeah." So this guy starts speaking to me in Spanish. Like all of a sudden, it was like, "Wow, he doesn't even look Latin at all." And he asked me, "Do you speak any other languages?" And I say, "Yeah, I speak Japanese and French." And he's like, "Oh, it's pretty cool. You speak 4." And this guy goes, "Well, I speak 6." It's just like, what? Yeah, I don't remember the languages that he spoke, but like, yeah, he spoke 6, like 2 more than me. So I'm not special anymore in New York. And I started meeting people all over the world, not just Americans, and they're like, yeah, they speak 4, 5, 6. Some people speak 7, even 8. I met someone that spoke 8 languages. I was like, how can you speak 8 languages? How do you do that? And this person was incredibly fluent in all languages. Right now, actually, she works for the UN. So, yeah, kind of makes sense. She also studied, I think, to become a lawyer. I don't remember anyway. But, like, when I was in New York, I noticed, I'm not special anymore. I'm just a little bit above average, I guess, here in New York, like pretty competitive. So definitely not a luxury. It is something that you must have. But in today's Japanese society, of course, I guess Japanese, you can deal with everything in Japan if you're Japanese. In Japan, in Japanese, you don't really need to learn another language. But I guess, like, if you're thinking about if you have children and you're thinking about your children, I really believe that when they become 30, it is going to be a necessity. And if they don't speak English, at least English, I think they're going to be in a lot of trouble. They won't have the same opportunities as others. But again, it's not something that they have to do. But at least for me, I don't think it's a luxury anymore. And again, pretty easy. By providing your child with a bilingual education early on, you're equipping them with the skills they'll need to succeed in the global marketplace. So they might meet people from all over the world. They probably fall in love with someone that is not from around. And hey, if they know English, it's pretty good. Okay, moving on to the segment number 5, and then we have 6, and then we're done. 5, we're talking about like the advantages of bilingual education in Japan. So again, one more time, we talked about it before in another episode, so definitely you should check that out. But bilingual education in Japan provides children with a unique opportunity to learn about both Japanese and other cultures. So this can lead to greater cultural awareness and the development of more open-minded and flexible approach to the world. And to be honest, Japanese need more of this. They need to be more open to the world. I do understand, and I do love living here. Trust me, I love how people follow the rules. I love how people are with their neighbors. I love how they might be judgy, but they're not as outspoken as our Western peers. Anything that you do wrong, they'll definitely let you know. Whereas in Japan, they're a bit more friendly, and some people think that they have like microaggressions if like they ask you continuously, "Oh, do you know how to use chopsticks?" Yeah, I don't believe that's actually a microaggression. I just think that, well, they don't really have experience with outside. You know, they're pretty comfortable here, and it is an incredible, comfortable country. You know, you got to try it out. Like, if you're out there, you should definitely give it a try because it is incredibly comfortable to live over here. And let's finish with a quotation again. Bilingual education in Japan or anywhere around the world offers children the opportunity to learn about different cultures and ways of thinking, which can lead to a greater empathy and understanding in the future. And yes, like I've met, now that I work on a different international school that I used to before, I have the opportunity to meet more international children, more international parents who, same as me, struggle to live in Japan. But the benefits of them taking a leap, taking a risk to come to Japan and exposing their children to Japanese culture, it also helps Japanese children to understand the ways of doing things. So I remember my first time here, the school that I'm working at, I had a student from India. And from my previous school, there were mainly Japanese with one or two maybe being Chinese, but they would speak like perfect Japanese. Everyone used chopsticks. Teachers and Japanese teachers would push for them to be able to use chopsticks properly and adequately. And so I go to this new school and I see this Indian kid. I also have like another one from Australia. They were like from all over the world, and I see this kid from India using his hands to eat, and I was like, whoa, what is going on over here? Like, I think like by staying at my company for last company for a very long time, I think like my mind and my brain got really set to like Japanese standards and Japanese ways of doing things, and you have to use the chopsticks and you have to do it this way and you have to do it this other way, like very structured. Whereas this new school is a bit more free. So when I was looking at this kid like eating with his hands, I was like, what are you doing? Like, what? No, do you have a fork or you have a, it's like, no, like this is just normal. So it took me, of course, I was able to adapt pretty quickly. So it was just like 10 seconds looking at that. And then I see like the girl from Australia and like opens up and she's like tuna sandwiches. It's like, oh, this is very interesting. And she goes all for the hand, boom, hands, eating with her hands. And okay, it took me like 10 seconds. But then when I look at the Japanese kids, like nobody was saying anything, and because they've been together for like 2 to 3 years, so probably the first time that they saw that, they were a little bit shocked, like I was, even though I don't know why I was shocked. I shouldn't have been, but anyway, I think because they're taking the risk to be here and living in Japan, maybe they have like better opportunities to live in Japan, and maybe the salaries are definitely better here than in their own countries. They're also helping Japanese children to like understand how people do things differently and all over the world. So I think that's pretty cool. So hopefully in the next, I don't know, decade or two, Japan becomes more global and accepts like other people. That is not only the Japanese way, there can be a mixed way, although I do love the Japanese way as well. Okay, so that is it for today's podcast. I really hope that you had fun, and like I always say, hopefully you were able to sit down, or like I mentioned, a friend mentioned before, maybe on his runnings he will be listening to my podcast, so that'll be pretty cool. And also I hope like the sound quality was better this time, and I'm actually using the microphone that I bought. But yeah, we hope that you found this information valuable and learned about the benefits of early bilingual education, not only in Japan but again all over the world. And if you have any questions, comments, please, always, you have a topic that you want me to talk about, for sure, let me know. Don't hesitate to reach out. And don't forget to tune in next time for more insights about, the topics that we talk about over here, like bilingualism, multiculturalism, psychology, and so forth. So thank you so much for listening. This is Q-chan. So see you next time. Goodbye.